sun sets. It's quite a big deal. And so me and my friends had got ourselves all set up. They had all the beers ready, had perfect view of this sunset. And literally, just as that sun started to touch the water, and you get that magical moment where it's glistening over the top.
Is this true?
Yeah, it's true. It's magical. Just as that was happening, some, for a better word, arsehole in a massive yacht came and blocked the view. And we missed it. We missed it. And I turned around to my friend and I said, one day that arsehole on that yacht is going to be me. And then fast forward about 12 years or so from there, I was actually on my own 62-foot yacht with that same friend actually in that bay, watching the sunset. And you know what I mean? And I think as well, if someone I told myself as well, prior to my friends coming on, that, in 12 years' time, to my 17-year-old self, that, in sort of 12 years' time, you'll be on a 62-foot luxury yacht with 6 women. I must admit, I'd have been quite excited, but one mother-in-law, 2 kids, a babysitter. It was a little bit different, but still really good. But like I say, my friends did join me as well, and it was really good to do that. And so, how did I get from a lad from Burnley to the yacht type story? Well, after that holiday with my friends, I went back to reality, and I had a part-time job pushing a trolley around Burnley General Hospital, selling sweets and toiletries and stuff like that to all the people on the wards. Weren't the world's best job. They really weren't. But the thing with that job, which was always really weird, it's always stayed with me, which is why it's part of the origin story of EKM, is you'd go on these wards, and with the wards where people would end of life, basically. And as you were pushing this trolley around, people would die as you were doing it. And obviously they cordon it off and stuff, and you'd have to wait while they sorted it all out. But as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old lad, it was weird. Death is weird. And especially what's gone on in the last 18 months, it's even more in everyone's, forefront of their mind. But it was weird. And I remember when you were talking to these people at the end of their life, they always used to say the same things, which were to not have any regrets and to make sure you spend life doing something that you love. And that has always stayed with me. And that is actually our sort of vision statement at EKM, that we believe everyone should be able to do something that they love. And it's massively important because 3 out of 4 people in the UK, or the world actually, 3 out of 4 people in the UK hate what they do. They hate what they do. Work, even the word work. You say, work, I've got work to do. I hate it. I hate Monday morning. And that's 3 out of 4 people. And that's not right. That's not right. And so if we can in any way change that, I'll be an happy man, really. And so our vision is that everyone should be able to do something that they love. So we built an e-commerce platform that lets people set up their own online businesses to do something that they love. And quite equally, anyone who chooses to join the team at EKM, I want them to love it as well. Mm-hmm. And so that's why that bit of the story is really important. After I'd finished pushing my trolley around and everything, I went to Lancaster University, got a job. Well, I did Lancaster University. And I used to do websites and things for people when I was at university. I used to really wind everyone else up because some people had to work in spa and things like that. And I'd go and do a website design for a business and get 3 or 4 grand. And so I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to actually do that much work as such. I didn't have to stack shelves. And then after university, I wanted to pretend to be a student for another 12 months. So I got a job up there. And this is the only job this is my proper job. It was the highest paid job I've ever had in my life, which was £12,500 a year, working on technical support for an internet service provider that was up in Lancaster. And I used to have to do technical support, and they're a web hosting company. And at the time, this is back in 2000, 2001, there were people ringing up who were trying to set up an e-commerce website. And I was trying to help them on the phone. And at the time, the only way you could really do an e-commerce website was either you bought some software that came in a box. It was called Antony at the time. If anyone remembers that, but it came in a box on a CD. And you used to have to install it on your PC. Then you had to install it on the web server, which is what I was helping people to do. And it was really complicated, ridiculously complicated. And I thought, how on earth could any normal person do this? I just did a computer science degree and I couldn't do it. And the other way you could do it, the other way, which still exists today, if you wanted an e-commerce website, was to pay a web designer or a web developer to build you an all singing, all dancing e-commerce website, which is great because you get exactly what you want. But the problem is once they've finished that site, they're off over the hills working on other projects, never to be seen again. And you're left with this website that's slowly going out of date. And so I thought there's got to be a better way of doing this. There's got to be a way that someone like my mum, who's not computer literate, would be able to build an e-commerce website. And so I started programming in my bedroom what would become EKM in classic ASP. I'd always done bits of programming, like I say, when I was doing websites for people through university. I think I bought a book actually about how to make e-commerce websites for classic ASP. I bought that. I bought classic ASP for dummies, all classic ASP, everything. I had loads of books, and I just read the books and I worked my way through, and I built what would become EKM. And behind it was always this idea that my mum could do it. And we had this idea at EKM, the idea of the mum test, which is Antony's mum's test. Like everything we do, would Antony's mum be able to do it? Is it that simple and that easy to use that anyone could do it? And programmed it in. Thought I was going to make my millions. Thought I was going to get my yacht in Ibiza full of women. Didn't happen though, did it? So I had to go and live back with my mum and dad. I had to go on job seekers allowance because I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know. I built this system. How the hell do you get customers on it? How do you get anyone to pay any money?
Yeah.
So I had to go back and live with my mum and dad, and then started 4 years of me on my own, persevering, trying to get the business to take off. And it took me 4 years to amass about 100 customers. And we can talk more about, because I know you want to talk about how that happened, but it took me about 4 years to amass about 100 customers. And once I had 100 customers paying me £20 a month, I went back to a friend of mine that worked at the business in Lancaster, and I said, because I always said to him, I'm going to go and set my own business up, and when I get 100 customers, I'll come back and rescue you, and you can come and work for me, you can be my first employee. And it took me 4 years. I didn't think it was going to take that long, and then
poor guy.
He came and started working for me, and then it just went from there. Really, it sort of grew about sort of 20, like a snowball, isn't it? It's that idea of compound growth, isn't it? Yeah. That snowball started growing, and it went on at like 20% year on year. Obviously, some ups and downs over the years, and it's took us to where we are today, really, which is a team of about 76, 77 people. I would normally be saying we're all working from a really fancy office in Preston that we spent a fortune on.
It's a very nice office.
Yeah, well, we tried to do it a bit like a Google office. It's got like a 3-story slide, a big Airstream caravan inside, free snacks, free drinks. But obviously, none of that matters anymore because everyone's working from home. The office has been closed since March last year. So there's about 77 people or so. They've always taken new people on and stuff, so it's hard to keep track of exactly how many people are working in the team. And that's where we are now. We've helped about 80,000 people set up an online shop. And it's about just, well, depending on the day, at the moment, it's about $500 million a year goes through shops on our network. So it's a hell of a lot of volume going through.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are today.
That's great. So I want to drill down on that. Oh, I think I'm echoing. Sorry. I want to drill down on that story of when, was it 100 customers that you felt like you really got traction, or was it slightly later? Like when did you think, or you and your friend that you rescued, when did you think, we've got?
I think it was 100 customers. I remember actually, because it's all because obviously when you were emailing me about this event and you asked, I started trying to think back, and I remember, because since everyone likes me talking about Ibiza, I remember a couple of years later, did go back to Ibiza, me and my friends. And obviously, we didn't have the yacht or anything like that. But I think at the time, I must have had about 20 customers or something like that. And I remember having to go to the internet, because again, you didn't have phones and stuff the same back then. This is like 2003-ish. I used to have to go to the internet cafe. There was an internet cafe right near the hotel. And the hotel was staying in, we proper died, but there was an internet cafe. And whereas they'd all be around the pool, sunbathing for a couple of hours, every afternoon I'd have to go to the internet cafe and reply to customers. And I think it was around that time, because I think I'd always got it in my head that if you set your own business up, you're your own man, your own boss, you do what you want when you want to do it. You decide what's happening. And then all of a sudden, I had these customers contacting me at 9 o'clock in the morning wanting help. You're like, hang on, this isn't what I signed up for. I thought I could do whatever I wanted to do here. And so I remember that all of a sudden you're having to always dedicate a few hours every single day to be helping customers while everyone else was like partying kind of a thing. But I think really it was around 100 when it was bringing enough money in that I didn't need the door money anymore. I had enough money coming in, and I could actually see that there was a business there. Because prior to that, even I got close to nearly giving up a few times, because the first 4 years were hard. They were hard because it was me on my own. And I remember, like in Burnley, which is where the business was originally set up and where I'm from, there used to be an old Michelin tyre factory, and they had a development fund. And so I applied for this development fund, and NatWest Bank came out to see me, and so did Michelin Tyres, and they looked at all the business plan and everything I had to do for them, and they said, Anthony, look, we've looked at it all, and sorry to say, this business is never going to work. And ironically, we bank with NatWest now, some of our stuff. Michelin Tyres are one of our customers, and so it just backs up this rhetoric that I'm sure everyone's heard from. But don't ever allow anyone to tell you that you can't do something, because, and this is the thing, and I remember I did manage to, like I say, when we had a few customers, I think we went about 20 customers or something. I used all that money that I'd got me, and I put it into a fax campaign. If anyone remembers them, you talk to people now, people don't know what a fax machine even is. A fax machine, but people used to have fax machines, basically like a printer in your office that just automatically prints stuff out that people send to it, like old school email.
You did a fax campaign.
A fax
like
campaign.
A marketing campaign on
fax. Yeah, fax campaign. I think I spent my last like £500 on it. It was my last roll of the dice. Last roll of the dice and money, and I spent £500 on it, and it went out at like 12 o'clock one day. Nothing came in, and then at 6 o'clock that day, the fax machine started whirring, and I thought, "Oh my God, I've got one! Thank God, I've got one!" And it came through, and someone had filled it in and put Mickey Mouse at Disney World.
Oh, jeez!
I remember. It was really, you think back at those times, and it's easy to forget that all these overnight success stories took years and years and years and years, and those 4 years were very tough. They were really, really tough, and it got to a point where even like my family were always very supportive, even started to say, look, maybe you should think about getting a job. Yeah. And I'd always go for job interviews. As it got to that last 4 years, I'd go for job interviews, and they'd always ask you that question, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And my answer would always be, well, doing my own thing, not here. Yeah. So I never got the job. So top tip if you're going for jobs, if they ever say, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? It's here working for you in a more senior role. But yeah, it was really tough. But I just persevered. And I think that is the only secret to success, isn't it? It's just persevering and persevering and persevering. I think these days, everyone looks at these these edge cases, these outlier stories. They'll read TechCrunch and stuff, or just even see stuff like SaaStock and these businesses that are set up one day, they go and raise hundreds of millions, and then they sold for billions, and they've only been doing it for 6 months. And I think everyone wants this sort of stuff and this success so quick, and they don't realize that even those big famous companies, even your Facebooks and your Google, they were doing it for years. Like Apple, they were doing this for decades.
They were grafting.
Yeah. But I think you just hear like the odd story of someone like instantly going up there, and think that's me. And I don't think people have got the staying power these days, have they? The same to keep banging on and on and on about something.
They didn't have that job in the hospital.
No.
Did you get those 100 customers? Sort of like, was there an intense period of getting those, or was it quite a steady, one a week?
Steady. I had to learn how to cold call, basically. I think at the time it was mainly cold call. I didn't have the budget to do Google adverts and things.
Right.
And obviously that technology was only just coming out around then as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to talk about it in a bit. I mean, Google Ads has been instrumental to the success of my business. But back in 2002, that kind of time, 2001, Google Ads wasn't really, I think it only just come out.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn how to cold call. So I literally hit the yellow pages, I tried to find customers, Thompson's Local, and literally cold call.
Which is probably hard. I know you're probably slightly different to your average developer. You're a little bit more outgoing, but must be quite hard for that sort of. Yeah. You were in, doing the thing in your room.
Oh yeah, and you got to remember, like that. You say I'm different to you. Back then, I probably wasn't. No. I'd had to learn this. My natural thing back then was I'm quite very introverted, just happy programming away. But I've had to learn how to adapt and improve and evolve myself to be able to do that. Like cold calling is. I have so much respect for salespeople. I really do. I think certainly in the technology sector, I think a lot of technologists, like look down at salespeople, like because they don't know PHP or .NET. They're not a spirit. It's like sod off. It's like that is such a tough job. It is such a tough job, and actually, being good at sales is probably one of the best skills you could ever have in your life. Actually, because at all times you need to learn how to sell yourself. whether that's selling yourself for a job, whether it's selling your business, whether it's selling yourself to find a partner, or or a mate or whatever. You've got to be able to sell yourself. And so I think the people that degrade the idea of sales and salesmanship, that's something they should focus on, actually. And I think when you talk about successful people, like say programmers, if they actually doubled down and focused on some of these areas that they were weak at, or the sector's weak at, they would stand out. So if you're a developer now, I think what most people do is they go, well, to be a better developer, I need to learn even more developing. I need to become more like in the Matrix and just see the code. It's like, well, actually, no. You need to learn some of these softer skills, because if you're a half decent programmer, but you can speak, you can public speak, you can actually sell, you'll do way better than someone who's the world's best programmer but can't speak to anyone. And I think that's almost the entrepreneurial journey, that you need to become like an all-rounded individual. You can't be a specialist at one thing. And too many people just fixate on one thing and think that's what I'm going to be good at. And actually, it holds you back, actually.
Absolutely. Did your friend that you brought into the business, what was his skill set? Was he a different skill set to you?
He was, he was customer services, which is what I was struggling with at the time. So these customers kept ringing up and wanting help and assistance. And the issue is like something like one of the servers would break, and they would ring up, but my server's broke. And it's like, I'm like, I can't phone. Well, I know it's broke. I'm trying to fix it. If you went off the phone, I could fix it. And so it was very much, it was to do that. But Ian was very much an all-rounder. So it was more around the customer services and looking after customer side admin stuff. It was that kind of stuff. It freed me up to stick at what I was good at.
Right.
It wasn't, I think, a classic mistake that most people make is they bring people in to do the jobs that they are really good at, so they can do the jobs that they're not very good at. So like if I was really good at programming, which I was then, what a lot of people do is that, well, I'll bring a better programmer in and then I'll do sales and marketing, but I'm not good at sales and marketing. So I actually tried to plug the gaps that I was weak at.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I've then built up my skills in those areas, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. What were those first few hires? So you had Ian come and do customer service.
He did customer services and admin and billing and all that kind of stuff. The next one was a developer, actually, but it wasn't. It was actually to help. It wasn't to work on EKM, the core product. It was to work on some extra services that we were getting asked for, because there was no way that those extra services were ever going to get done. And I didn't want to bring him in on EKM. So he worked on a web stats system and an email marketing system and things like that. So he worked on separate things that we were getting asked for at the time, because we needed the money. So we were trying to launch products that would earn us money to keep the main business growing. And then after then, it was another support person, actually. We didn't employ salespeople until quite a bit down the line, actually, because at this point we were relying on Google Ads, because once we got that first 100 customers and Google AdWords at the time was becoming quite a cool thing, every bit of money we were making, I was pumping into Google Ads, and that was then driving the business. And so we didn't need a sales team. We didn't even need a marketing team, really, because I did that, and I always enjoyed doing that. So that was much later on. That was when we got to about a size of about 8 or 9 people that we brought in dedicated sales functions.
And do you think, just jumping forward quickly, do you think that landscape in terms of marketing and sales has changed a lot? Is it a lot harder now? Is it a lot more competitive?
It's a lot more. In our sector it is, because we're up against like your Shopify's and your billion dollar companies. But yeah, it is way more competitive. I think at the time, businesses didn't even understand what AdWords were, did they? And I think actually now there's still a hell of a lot that don't. So I still think there's massive opportunities there because people don't understand it. But yeah, it's definitely more competitive now. But then the sector is so much wider, and you can be more specific than you could then. Back then, it was a much wider net. You didn't even have like your broad and phrase match stuff. It was just like literally e-commerce. And you bid on e-commerce and that would cover you.
Yeah.
And so the whole industry's got so much more complicated now. I mean, like you go onto Google AdWords now or Google Ads, and it's like looking at a spaceship dashboard, isn't it? There's that many things going on. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're on the chat and you have a question for Antony, do ping it in. Also, I'd be interested to hear if you're in the sales and marketing function as well. And, if you have any questions around that, that'd be great for me to post to Antony. It was just you, Ian, you got to 100 customers, you started looking at some other kind of functions, developer that you needed to fill roles, build out that team. And I presume kind of that point, potentially your profitability dropped when you started bringing on team. So you had salaries to pay.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or...
Yeah, but it's always been organically funded as EKM. It's always been organic. So we only ever took people on when we can afford to take them on. So yeah, when we were taking people on, it was eating into the profits, definitely. But that's how it's always been, really. It's one of them, I've never took a salary as such. I do well, and I've took dividends and things, but it's always been about reinvesting back into that business all the time.
Yeah.
And doing it when I did it, remember, this is me straight after university. It's a great time to do because you've got nothing to lose. I was living back with my mum and dad. Yes, I had a car that I managed to fund by doing the websites and stuff when I was at university, but I had nothing to lose. I didn't have a house to lose. I didn't have children to feed or a mortgage. And I think people get in at that age, at that point of your life, it's a great time to do this stuff because you can take a lot more risks. I mean, the way that I suppose as well, I suppose I didn't touch on it really. Another way that this business was funded in terms of organic growth as well was credit card debt. I will be totally honest about that because this was back in the days when the glory days, when you used to be able to ring up Capital One and Mint and all these other credit card companies and just tell them that you earn 60 grand a year. You just ring up, I earn 60 grand a year. What's my limit? And they didn't check. They didn't check. You couldn't care less. And so you got these big limits. And I think that getting to 4 years with 100 customers, I think at the time I was about 40 odd grand's worth in credit card debt.
Wow.
So that's what actually funded me to survive. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I was then using to pump into AdWords and stuff. So, well, I can't think off the top of my head exactly where the profit and loss and balance sheets were back at that time. Yeah, there was a lot of debt, personal debt from me, in terms of credit card debt.
Like another thing that entrepreneurs have to take on, don't they?
Yeah, well, I passionately believed in it, and this is the thing when people say, "Well, like, why did you continue with it?" It's because I so passionately believed it would work. I believed in every bone in my body that it would work, and I never ever believed that it was finished. I would wake up in the morning thinking about EKM, and I go to bed at night thinking about EKM, and I was never happy with it. I was always, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, but never. It's not as good as it could be, and that was always how it was, and I still feel like that now. I feel exactly the same now, and you know what I mean. I've got to be careful what I say because it's not. I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in, and I'm grateful for the team and stuff. But I still have that same passion and drive for it now as I did back then. I still look at the business. I wake up thinking about EKM. I go to bed thinking about EKM, and I'm always thinking, "Oh, I wish that were better. I wish this could be better. How could we do this differently?" And I think probably the day that stops, the day that actually I'm not bothered, is the day to give up. Because I think you're always going to strive for more, aren't you? It's almost like the entrepreneur's curse that you're never happy. And so you never at that point where you just
the entrepreneur's curse. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're never happy with your lot, are you? You're just never happy. So it doesn't matter how much money you've got or how much success you've got, or how many customers you've got. You always want more. Which is what drives the human race forward and what drives you forward as an entrepreneur. But it does, I suppose, curse you that you're never going to be satisfied as such. You're never going to scratch that itch, are you?
Well, sometimes it makes it hard to make friends. But but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So you talked about effectively starting a company and a product when actually there wasn't really much out there in terms of e-commerce platforms and solutions, especially like self-serve, intuitive platforms, build your own online shop. I got a question from Charlotte here, which may be related to the past, but it might be related to the present. What have been your kind of biggest marketing challenges? Was it just getting the word out and educating people, or has it been competing with the noise that you've got now? What's been the challenge?
Well, I mean, it's evolved and changed like everything over the years. I mean, I think, like I say, going back to the start, you'd have to go and see business. You go and see businesses. You go into them, and when you're doing cold, because I used to not only cold calling, I'd walk into businesses. I'd walk into high street shops and just say, "Do you want an online shop?" And you'd be still facing that resistance of, "Well, why would I need to be on the internet?"
Yeah,
my customers aren't going to buy on the internet, and not this internet malarkey. So no, it won't be around. And you're still dealing with that back in 2002, and there's still a bit of that now. Where people are like, "Oh no, I don't want to be on the internet."
Oh, especially with B2B stuff as well.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, it upsets me really when obviously, the pandemic stuff happened, and obviously a lot of people jumped onto online. And then after that first lockdown, we had some people cancelling the shops. It's like, why are you cancelling your shops? Well, it's all reopening now. I won't need it. It's like, yeah, but they're going to stick you in another one. Oh, no, they won't. And then when they do, they come back, oh, can I have a shot? And it's like, every time you do that, you're hurting yourself because you're not getting any traction. And it's like back in day, back on them early days when you go in and see these businesses, that the majority of them aren't there anymore because they didn't embrace the technology and the trends that were happening. So there was certainly a lot of that back then, that you had to educate them why you would even need to sell on the internet. Moving forward to today, obviously, it's a whole other ballgame, because we're up against companies like your Shopify's and stuff that probably spend in a day on marketing more than we earn in an entire year. So you're having to compete against massive businesses like that. And so we've had to very much pivot and change the business model to kind of find gaps that we can fit into better than trying to be a catch-all e-commerce platform, because that market is gone now. This idea that you just be an e-commerce platform for every man and his dog, it's not sustainable, because the return on your marketing spend takes too long. I mean, you look at companies like BigCommerce, which is another company in our space, is quite well known, who's a competitor of Shopify, and their return on advertising, the customer acquisition cost stuff, it's 35 months payback. So the amount of money they spend, it takes them 35 months to get their money back. Whereas that with EKM, because we've optimized it so well, we're down like 3 months. Now, it should be, don't get me wrong, I think that's very well optimized. I think we should be extending that to cast a wider net. It shows the difference in terms of trying to be focused on a specific subset of customers that you're really after. You can get them acquisition costs right down and the payback down, because you're getting good quality customers, as opposed to the classic SaaS thing of just signing up loads of customers. I mean, the technical term's dog shit customers, but it is, and that's the problem, isn't it? You end up you just scatter your net so wide. They churn out. They churn out, and that's what we've done over the years. We've really focused in on very specific what our customers are and very specific segments. And I think actually, I think this happened in all industries, but I think as the internet and business and all e-commerce, as it spreads, there's more sectors appear, don't they? Like back in 2002, if you were good at computers, you were good at everything. So if you were like me, a computer nerd, that means you knew how to program a VCR, a video recorder, you know how to do Excel, you know how to do Word, you know how to do macros, you do everything. Whereas now, you can be good at a very specific thing in computers that doesn't relate to anything else. And I think in e-commerce, it's got like that now. And in a lot of industries, it's so wide and spread that actually trying to be all things to all people with one brand is it's not actually a strength particular.
Well, exactly. The market's far more sophisticated now, right? So as someone who has been in marketing for a lot of their life, you're taught in marketing school that you need to target your customers effectively. Otherwise, if you're something for everyone, you're nothing for no one, basically.
Yeah, it's like the Seth Godin thing, isn't it? People like them.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to cast too wide of a net, you're not the people like them. You're people like them. And so we're finding that. And so in terms of marketing challenges moving forward, I think for us, and I think the industry, I think it'll have to move to more segmented brands for specific sectors. So a little bit like Kellogg's Cornflakes, in that Kellogg's Cornflakes might make a cereal that's aimed at, say, women who want to lose weight and call it Special K. They might take that exact same cereal and put a bit of chocolate on it and then sell it as Cocoa Pops aimed at the kids. And then they might take that same, and it's the same core product.
The same core, yeah.
But they market it in a very different way. And Cocoa Pops, you'll get kids to eat, but they maybe wouldn't eat Special K. And it's almost like that idea, really, that I think you're going to find that you're going to have more brands popping up in all the different sectors.
Absolutely.
That are targeted at just those people that.
And in e-commerce, I think it's the tip of the iceberg right now. There's so much headroom. I saw a stat the other day that there's like 2 trillion in retail online payments, 65 trillion in bricks and mortar retail payments. So even with that, I think that stat's just pre-pandemic, and that's probably changed now. But I bet you it's nowhere near the 65 trillion that was happening.
No.
So it's massive headroom. What for EKM? What do you want to be known as? How would you describe some of your niches? Or
some of our niches. Well, like I say, I think we'll probably find over the years, we'll probably add some more of these Kellogg's type things to the brand. I'll be honest, I think we will do that to segment into certain sectors. But really, the way I tend to sell it to people is that we want to work with people who want to build a successful business. And that's who we want to work with. We don't want the get rich. I mean, like some of our competitors, and they do an amazing job at it. I don't believe in dissing competitors. I don't think it does anyone any favors, because I actually like all our competitors and I look up to them, and I think they do some amazing things. So you look like your Shopify's and stuff for the world, and it's phenomenal business. It's phenomenal, out a hell of a lot of people. But I do think there's an element around some of these things where it's a bit like a get rich quick. And I think people want this. I think we're talking about at the start, people that want success. Like yesterday, we are willing to put the effort in, and a lot of these things is very much a get rich quick type scheme that I'll do drop shipping. I'm going to press a couple of buttons, and I'm going to sit back while the millions roll in, and I'll be on a beach being an influencer. And it's kind of like, don't work though, does it? And so we've kind of moved away from that and we want to work with people who want to build a successful business. So if you're serious at it, work with us, and we'll give you an account manager or a coach, whatever, to make sure that you get there. We'll do all this stuff with you. But if you wanted to play at it, or to tell your friends, I've got an online business, there's other solutions that are there for you that would be far better than we would. And so it's very much around that.
Sorry, I was going to interject. You don't mind whether they're B2C customers, B2B customers. That's fine.
No,
but you're really looking at how can you come alongside them and help them drive the success of that business.
Yeah, we want to really drive the success. Thing. But I do think that there will be an element of segmentation, certainly, because the business to business side of stuff is kind of a marginally different brand to the business to consumer stuff, isn't it? Because you're targeting different people, and if we accept that people like them, it needs to resonate with them, doesn't it? It needs to resonate with them. Even like silly things like the pictures on the website, the pictures of people need to look like the people you're trying to pitch and sell to. Which is what marketing's about. I know it's stereotyping and things like that, but it is true. If people see someone who looks like them, who sounds like them, who's doing this, trying to achieve the same goals as them, they're more likely to resonate with it. Which is why I suppose you get in all this like the diversity stuff, because in certain sectors there isn't people that they can look up to, that maybe that they associate with or look up to, and so this is why you're going to find that you're going to have these more segmented things, so people can find people like them. And I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I remember working on some campaigns where you put in the aspirational customer, and that helps everyone, that helps drive customer acquisition with that aspirational customer, whether it's in photos or whatever. Interesting. Let me see if I've got another question here. Vikram. Okay. So in terms of this leads on. So it sounds like you're doing some other interesting things, like around the coaching and perhaps some of these extra products and perhaps segmentation. Are you looking at any other services on the really kind of immediate horizon that you want to bundle in or offer?
Yeah, well, one of the things, because on that question, one of the things that we did is how our business is a funny one in that it makes people's lives harder. We don't make it's like joining a gym. So people join a gym because they want a six pack. People set up an online business because they want a load of money. But joining the gym or setting business is all of a sudden it's a lot of hard work, because you go to the gym and you go, well, this is a bit like hard work. I can't be bothered with this. And setting up a business is even worse. It's like, well, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. It's hard work. So you actually make your customers' lives harder, because you can't magic a six pack on someone. You can't say, pay me some money, I'll give you some magic beans that gives you a six pack. Otherwise, you'd be a billionaire, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Maybe that should be the next business. But online shops exactly the same. People cannot, it doesn't matter what they pay us, they can't just pay us money and we make them a millionaire. It doesn't work like that. So it's hard work. So a bit like a gym, we do it with coaches. So when you sign up for EKM, you're given a coach, an account manager who will keep checking in with you and say, look, I'm going to call you again on Wednesday. By Wednesday, I want you to have uploaded 5 products. If you're getting stuck, email me, let me know, I'll help you do it, and we'll do it together on a screen share. And then by next Friday, I want to be helping you with this, that, and the other. And so they'll have a plan to get to a point in the future where, look, we're going to launch on this day. I'm going to help you set up your social media profiles. We're going to help you with this, to get them to the point of getting some sales in, because that is the hardest bit, is seeing them first results. I think if you join the gym and after a few months you start to see some results and some definition, you're probably going to continue with it. But then first few weeks you could be going and going and going and nothing's changing. And that's what's happening with the online business. People expect everything now because they've watched these videos. They've watched these get rich quick. I've watched him. I've seen your Ty Lopez and your Grant Cardone. They told me I can get rich quick and get a jet, and it's not happening for me. So therefore, your platform doesn't work. And it's like it's not that simple. And so we've done a lot around that, and that's kind of how we've sort of changed our business a little bit, because I think technology in particular is bad for this. It's almost like if a plumbing business was run like a technology business, it'd be one of these things where you'd ring up and say, look, my toilet is blocked. What do I do? The technology company would go, well, okay, are you in front of your toilet? What I want to do, I want you to put your hand down through all the crap, put your hand through, I want you to pull this, and I want you to press that button and just tell me what it's doing. Whereas most people are like, no, I'm not doing it. I want you to sort it for me. And technology has always been very much, well, no, you do it. We'll just offer you a little bit of support. And I think now people are kind of wanting a lot more assistance and help and the stuff that they don't understand. Do you know what I mean? And so we've done a lot of stuff around that. And I think there is a lot more we can offer, and the industry in particular can offer around that as well, because as these things have got more complicated, like Google AdWords is so complicated now. So we'll help people either get it set up and then show them how to run it, and then they're off running on their own, or we can help them manage it. I am always keen that they learn to do a bit of it themselves, though, because I don't like the industry that kind of just it's like smoke and mirrors and removes it from people. I want them to understand how it works so that they can do it themselves.
Yeah, I think that's good. But and also, I guess the tension is that in a tech business, you're always looking at the margins as well, of course. But you're trying to not add on those more traditional types of services to keep your margins where they are, or as high as possible. Have you seen these integrations or services, or high touch customer service actually eat into your profit? And if so, has it actually driven more profit because it's just separated you from the rest of the competition?
It's definitely driven more, because the other thing that we did when we started going down this route is we used to have just one pricing plan.
Right.
I think it originally was $19.99 a month, and then it went up to $24.99 a month, and then I think at the moment now the basic plan is $32.49 a month, and then we have plans that go up from there, and it's almost a shared success model now. So our motivations are aligned with yours. So each plan has a cap on the amount of turnover that you can do, which is standard SaaS stuff. I mean, I know people talk about it all the time, but that works. And this model that we have with the coaches, it works as well, because it drives that behavior. And that we want you to make a load of money. We want you to make £1 million a sales. Of course we do, because then you pay us more money. Yeah. You're earning more money, and it's all. And so yeah, it drives more profitability for us, way more. If we can get customers onto our advanced plan, which I think is about £194 a month, the profit on that is the highest profit that we've got on any of our plans.
Yeah.
The basic plan, which is effectively £1 a day, there isn't much on that. There really isn't. So the aim is to get people up those plans, and the account managers, they achieve that because, again, when they're speaking to people, their secondary aim is to try to get them to move up the plans.
Yeah.
The primary aim of any business, and it's the same for our account managers, has to be to help people. I think this is where you can get your business really wrong, and I know we have over the years, in that you can become too money focused, and in that the aim of the business is to make money. The aim of the business is to make net profit, yes, and it's not, because actually, if you chase money, whether that be as a business, whether it's in your career, whether it's with your friends, whatever, you will achieve some level of success, but you'll never make massive success. Most of the companies that we all know and love, whether you talk about Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, whatever it is, their primary thing is to help people. They help people connect. They help people use the computers. They help people do something, achieve something. They make money as a side result. It's a hell of a lot of money. Yeah. A hell of a lot of money, but it's as a side result. And I think that's what you've always got to remember in your business. I think if you set a business up purely to make money, it will never work. And so if you set a team up in your business that the entire aim is to make money, it'll have limited success. If their primary aim is to help as many people as possible, whilst encouraging them to spend more money with you, I think it works. But it's got to be a balance.
Yeah. Did you think about that at that point of traction when you had those 100 customers? Were you still focused? You were thinking about the cash?
Yeah. Back then, no. But back then, I've always, because again, it's the inner programmer in there. I've always loved making things that people use and enjoy.
Yeah.
That is such a buzz. Like when you program something and then you're looking on analytics and you can see people using it, that gives me such a buzz that you've made something that people are using.
Yeah.
So it was that drove me at the start. It was very much, this is amazing that people are using it. It was amazing, and even today it is. I mean, like when you sit in meetings or virtually or whatever, and you see the teams having these meetings, and I'm not even involved in them. You just sit back and you watch that happening. To think that you've been involved in that is amazing. I love that, and so it's very much that. But as the business grew, because we've been doing this for like 19, nearly 20 years next year, we
Amazing.
did get to a point where it did get money grabber. It did. It got to a point where I had children, I had a wife, I had a house, I had nice cars, I had my yacht, I had a plane, I had all these trappings of success, and it became a little bit more money. It was more about what the net profit was, what margins we were making. Customers weren't customers; they were customer accounts or sign-ups, they were customer IDs, they were usernames. And it became a bit too money grabby, and we suffered as a result of that. We did. The business tanked a little bit because we took our eye off the ball. We didn't treat customers with the respect that they deserved. It's really embarrassing. I don't mind talking about it. I'm very, very embarrassed about it, but it was like an endemic issue, really, that we even referred to customers as customer usernames. They weren't human beings with a family, with a business, with employees, and we forgot that. We forgot who we were doing it for. We thought we were doing it to make money, and we weren't. We're doing it to help people. And when we kind of woke up from that and realised that, and we had to give the business a big shake, a massive shake, got to really shake that tree and get some people some bad apples off it. It turned around, but yeah, we did. And I think it's easy for anyone to get like that, though, whether it's just even in a job to become.
I think you're absolutely right. I think on the smallest possible scale, it's easy for anyone to be like that. And in SaaS right now, where you've got the hyper growth mindset, you've got a lot of VC money in. It's even it's really easy to get focused on those ridiculous money targets. I've got a question from Emerson. It might take us back a little bit, but Emerson says, do you feel more comfortable going after niche markets that are likely to stick with you for longer and pay, or going for mass volume growth with high churn rates? I think
the former. It's just not that the high churn. It's such a hard slog because you're just churning customers left, right, and centre. This going after more sticky customers has been such a better strategy for us. It's more profitable. It's way more profitable, even if you're talking about numbers. But it also means you can help more people fundamentally, because you can help people to actually do something successful. If we just pumping in loads of dog shit customers, we can't help them all. So we're not delivering a great service because we can't physically help them. You can't help them anyway because they're unhelpable, because they don't really want to do anything. So you can't help them. You get bad Trustpilot reviews, you get bad Google reviews. It upsets the team. The team having to deal with people that they know they're never going to do it. So
it's a dog shit slide of crap.
Yeah, it is. Really. Yeah, it spreads throughout the whole company. It does, and it's just like, we don't ever want that. And I sympathise for these other companies in our market that are doing that approach, because you see their churn levels, because I'm obviously public, and their churn levels are phenomenal. Some of these companies like churning half the customer bases in a year. It's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
the churn.
And would you say overall that's slower growth, or how would you measure that? What would you say?
Well, it's worked for them, hasn't it? Yeah, it's worked for them. So I can't really diss that strategy in terms of economic growth. Although if you're looking at profitability and stuff, because you look at your big commerce, for example, don't make the profit. I don't think Shopify, they've started to make profit now, but they've ran for decades without any profit. And which is, it's a different world. I know it's a world that, again, we all read and we see, whether that be SaaStock, whether it be TechCrunch, whatever it is. But the other side of the Atlantic is very different to us. Profit's like a dirty word over there, whereas over here, building a sustainable business that actually can to sustain itself, sustain its employees, sustain and grow, I think is an amazing thing to want and to try to achieve. But it is a dirty word over there.
Yeah, as Mark says, it's fake growth if your churn rate's high.
Fake it till you make it, isn't it? And actually, if you make it, it's like yay. But if you fake it, but if you don't make it, you're a big. You know what I mean? It's like you look at all of them, and you only ever know the extremes. So you see one side like Shopify that managed to do it through that, and then the other side you got things like WeWork and stuff. Now, had he pulled it off, he'd be one of these big success stories. And it's only other people in the industry that go, this is bullshit. How are they doing what they're doing? It's like because it's just funded. It's just funded.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that's almost the poster child for this stuff these days. You've got these businesses, and you see them on LinkedIn, all these people on LinkedIn, and you look at them and oh, they must be so successful. And you're reading, oh, these are so successful. And actually, the only thing that they're successful at is raising money, and that they should release a book on. That's how they do it. It's phenomenal. Like literally, you should be writing a book about business because you don't know nothing about business, but you know about raising money. Do a book on that because however you're getting money off people is phenomenal, but you see it all the time. And it's just like, but people buy it, don't they? You see them all the time on like LinkedIn, and these really successful people. But I'm so successful, my business is worth hundreds of millions. It's just I'm not materialistic, so I choose to live in my mum's back bedroom. It's like really, it's just like it doesn't add up. And a lot of the time, if stuff doesn't add up, it's because it doesn't add up. Do you know what I mean? You see these businesses go, how does that work? It don't make sense. It's like because it doesn't make sense. It literally is. You're trying to make sense of something that's nonsensical.
Oh yeah, I totally buy into that. It's almost we've almost come full circle on this conversation.
Yeah, we have. Let's not talk about.
We won't get back into COVID for the sake of our audience, but got a couple of minutes left, Anthony. It's been amazing to have you on, and
thanks for having us.
But my last question for you, unless anyone else has got anything to add, is what's next for you guys? What's that next point of kind of like breakthrough and traction? What are you looking at?
Well, obviously, world domination would be nice, so we can keep hoping for that. It's a lot more of the same. It is more of the same. I think. Again, people are expecting silver bullet type things. That, oh, well, we're going to do X, Y, Z, and it's going to actually blow up. I don't think it is. I think it's more of the same. I think we're going to do a lot more focus on like the business to business stuff. I think there's a big gap in our market in terms of that. That's a bit under supported in that area. You've also got like a lot of new technologies, like the augmented reality stuff is really cool when you actually see that. And I as a consumer, I've used that a lot more recently.
Yeah.
Which is like things like if you look at like a new on Samsung's website, they've got it, for example, if no one's ever used it before, where if you're looking for a TV, you can pick like your 55-inch TV, and then using your phone, you can actually look at what it would look like on your wall, and you can reposition it. And so if the 55 one's too big, you can try 45, and you can actually check the size and go and look at it. And I've used it for quite a few things recently, even random things. I think I used it for that Iron Man sculpture there because to see if it fit in the shelf, and it just drew the sculpture, so I knew it fit.
Cool.
So that I think is quite exciting as it becomes more mainstream, because a lot of this sort of technology stuff, certainly around cameras and augmented reality stuff, has been forced a bit more mainstream. Because again, prior to 18 months ago, the normal person on the street wouldn't know what a QR code even was, for example. Now everyone knows what a QR code is. So I think people have got more fear with using the phone for stuff like that. So there's certainly a lot of technology stuff around that, but it is more of the same. It's helping. All I'm thinking of is how can we help more people? And so whatever we have to do that, I'll do that. You know, and that's helping people either just to spend life doing something that they love. Whether that's doing more of these sort of things to try to get that message out there, whether it's getting more customers on that we can help. That's really my aim. And obviously the business it's the vision of the business to help people do something that they love.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think, whatever technology emerges, I think ultimately, as you say, it's got to help the human race. It's got to help individuals and groups of people. And if that's your focus, then you'll embrace those technologies, make them available, and make them work for us.
Yeah, you've got to be willing to evolve, haven't you? I mean, this business has evolved all the time over the past 19 years. So it's not like it's very hard to predict what the world is going to hold at any point. But as long as you're willing to keep swerving, and that's the best thing about being an entrepreneur and having a business like EKM, in that you're nimble. You're not like like one of these 100,000 employee type, monolithic type things that cannot move, cannot change, nothing can change. We're able to move around, and so and be fluid like that. We you know, we can upsize this side, downsize that side, change this around, put this here, move people. We can do that, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. Thanks so much, Antony. We got to finish up there. But yeah, really great to have you on. We wish you all the success, and I hope to see you in person at the next SaaStock event somewhere
I'm really looking
around
forward
the world.
to that.
But yeah, thanks so much, and yeah, all the best. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.